Good morning, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Premarket webinar for the morning of Monday, the 27th of July. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts, some nice strategic trading signals. Right, just to start off with, obviously for this week, this is the last trading week of July. We have neutral stats today and tomorrow. We've got bullish stats for the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. Sorry, bearish stats for the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. Thursday, we've got neutral to bullish, and Friday we've got neutral. Going in for next week, we have unusually for the first trading day of a month, we've got bearish leading day on Monday and then neutral for the rest of the week. All right, now what appeared to be about to happen over the weekend was that we were going to see an expansion of the war, a lot of American troops and material being moved to the Middle East, and it appeared that there were blood-curdling threats that there was going to be a big expansion, and none of that happened. It appears that was cancelled at the last moment, and as a result, oil is down and equities are up, and ES at the time of speaking is up 65 so far. So for me, I'm thinking that we're going to have another test of the daily middle bands today, and we will see how that goes. In the meantime, ES is testing the monthly pivot and is testing the declining resistance from the last short-term high. And if we see a break up from this, then obviously we can go significantly higher. Looking at NQ, we had a weak 6-minute buy signal brewing on Saturday, and that has now fixed. We've got a potential double bottom here, and this wouldn't get us back up into a retest of the high, but it would get us fairly close to a retest of a test of the possible flag resistance here, and I'm certainly taking it seriously so far. Although what I would say about the Iran war is that the bombing on both sides has stopped, but obviously the Iranians are still keeping control of the daily middle band. Sorry, the Iranians are still keeping control of the Strait of Hormuz, and the Americans are still blockading the Iranians. And as far as I can tell, the Bab el-Mandab Strait is still closed to the Saudis. So we are still getting very little oil through. So the question is, how's that going to progress from here? There have been approaches from the US through intermediaries to maybe reinstate the memorandum of understanding and to get negotiations back on track. But the Iranians have turned that down. They'd already repudiated the memorandum of understanding. And at the moment, what they've said is that in terms of a ceasefire, what they'd want is an acknowledgement that they now control the Strait of Hormuz, which they thought they'd got with the memorandum of understanding, but apparently not. But they would like a clear understanding of that. Then they'd like some of their frozen money back, and then, and only then, would they be starting to talk about nuclear materials and plans. So we will see how that progresses this week. So I'm not sure that's enough to get us back into the all-time highs, but we'll see how that goes today. All right, in terms of NQ, obviously we've got a weak 6-minute buy signal fix. That's not alone. There are other indications, but I'll go through those. RTY, we've got head and shoulders, which is broken down here. Now, obviously, to fail, that would need to get back up over about 30.30. If that fails, that would have a targeted retest the high, but only when it fails. YM, we've got a head and shoulders that's broken down here too, and really I'm expecting that to go and make the target unless that head and shoulders fails, and that failure would be at about the 53.150 area, and actually we're getting fairly close to that. So if we are going to see a failure, it looks as though that's going to be first. We shall see. DAX, I've got an IHS, not a great looking IHS. I was talking about this in the bigger picture webinar yesterday. We've got an IHS which is now broken up with a target at a retest of the all-time high. ESTX is also doing pretty well and is much of the way back to the all-time high. Nikkei, being fairly muted so far. We will see how that goes, but obviously there is still a possibility that this is a bull flag, although it hasn't broken up yet. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts, and looking at Dia. On the daily chart, I've got the daily middle band at the at 522.90, and I would note, and this is something I mentioned yesterday, as a number, there were some bullish indications, not a huge number, but some. One of them was that we had a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing here on the daily chart on Dia. So I'm waiting. I'm going to be watching the daily middle band at about basically at 523, and I'm going to be watching to see whether we see a close which is high enough today for that RSI 5 buy signal to fix. Looking at the Qs, we almost made it to the 3SD lower band, but we've got this nice looking little double bottom here, and I've got the daily middle band at 711.71 at the moment on ES. ES, I've got the daily middle band at 75.35, so we're about 20 handles below at the moment. That's where it closed on Friday. So we will see. And on SPX, I've got that at 74.89. So watching all of those resistance levels here, because obviously we're starting the week. We ended last week with all four of these indices below the daily middle band. That is bearish. But if we can see a break above that is more general than the short break above we had with SPX last week, then obviously that has prospects for a potential retest of the high. On that subject, another of the bearish things that are potentially bullish things I was looking at was this very nice looking triangle on SPX. Now, if this is a triangle, then it's a bullish triangle. Now we had a little head and shoulders that broke down with a target at 72.94 and a break over 75.25.94 on SPX would fail that and have a target at a retest of 75.81, which would get us over this triangle resistance. So if this triangle continues to form, I'd expect to move up to here in about the 75.70 area, then a partial move back, and then a retest of the all-time high. So this is potentially a setup to get us back to a retest of the all-time high. In terms of the Qs, we've got a nice looking level bottom here, which would get us back into flag resistance if it breaks up. Possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing here on the hourly, possible weak RSI 14 buy signal brewing. We've got some prospects for a retest of the high here. What we're not getting is enough obviously good news to suggest that that's actually going to happen. But obviously that may well change as the week progresses. Let's have a look at IWM. IWM, we've seen this was a hit of the daily lower band. I've got the daily middle band at 295.86, and the target would be to get back over that. Again, we've got the same head and shoulders. Again, if that fails, break over 298.21, then that's got a target at a retest of the all-time high. So we do have prospects to retest the all-time high from here, but we're going to need to see more from the bulls to actually get there. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at, sorry, I'm just going to open something in the background while we're doing this. That would be the energies charts. All right. Let's have a look at DX. DX, we have been seeing a little bit of a pullback here. This is, I have to say, the tendency has not been as strong lately, but when the Iran war is hotting up, this goes up, and when the Iran war is cooling down, this tends to go down. This hasn't actually moved a great deal at all. We shall see. We've seen a little bit of a pullback. I'm not sure it's any more significant than that. The next obvious target would still be a retest of this high here in about the 101.57 area, I think. Looking at EURUSD, still got a bear flag that's broken down. GBP-USD, entirely sure what's happening here, to be honest. USD-JPY saw a bit of a pullback, back test of the weekly pivot. USD CAD, if the DX is breaking up, this has been underperforming a bit here, but we will see. I'm quite liking this to go back up and retest this high. Australian dollar, we've got a nice looking double top or head and shoulders forming here, which is suggesting this is going to go down while presumably the dollar goes up. NZUSD, again, a little hard to say. Could be, but we've got this IHS which is broken up. If this fails, it's got to retest targeted a retest this low. If it succeeds, it's got a target in the 59.63 area. And at the moment, I'm leaning towards it failing. We shall see. But we're holding the monthly pivot as support at the moment, and obviously that will need to break. All right, looking at bonds. Bonds, we've seen a bit of a rally on the Iran news. I was wondering about this as a falling wedge, and so far this could still be a falling wedge. wedge. So watching that with interest. Might see a bit of a break up here. ZN, we've seen a bit of a rally here. Bigger picture, we're probably still looking lower. ZB, I was expecting to have seen this retest as low here, and that probably unfinished with low. So it didn't need to go a lot further, but a retest this low and a bit further would get us there. In terms of oil, right, oil has pulled back significantly. No divergence on the hourly chart, but we do. Hang on 1 second, just pull that. Yeah, we do have divergence on the 15-minute chart. So let's have a look and see how that looks on the Brent chart. That's a nice looking buy signal. It's not necessarily going to go us that far, but I mean, but it might get us back up into this resistance here in the 93 area. We will see how that goes. And we've got a nice looking 15-minute buy signal on on WTIC as well. We will see how that goes. Now, in terms of where I was talking about, well, let's do the others first. But CL, seeing a little bit of a rally here, wondering about possible inverted shoulders forming, and obviously oil is not flowing. So there's probably a limited amount of further downside we can see unless there is actually some kind of a ceasefire negotiation formally which starts. RBOB, pullback, might be seeing a bit of a rally at the moment. NG, we had this nice looking double bottom break up, and that has failed pretty hard, and to retest the low and a little lower. We do technically have a potential larger double bottom here now, and we will see how that develops. But I am wondering about that potentially breaking up as well. But I got to say, my overall lean is probably more likely for continuation down. Okay, let's have a look at those on the bigger pictures. And in terms of the daily charts, what I was talking about was a pullback here, which would set up, if we saw a retest of the high, it would set up a nice looking sell signal. As you can see, we pulled a little lower than the 50 level on RSI 5, but of course the day hasn't closed yet. I'm thinking that we see a bit of a rally today, and I'm hoping that we can see a high retest if we are going to go down further off the highs we saw on Thursday and Friday, and we would see how it went from there. But if we can set it, we have been pretty good at setting up daily RSI 5 buy and sell signals at highs and lows, and I'm thinking that we may well do the same here, but I'm watching that RSI, which is getting a little low. On WTIC, exactly the same situation. So we could, of course, set up weak sell signals on the RSI 14 chart, but the RSI 5 ones are the ones I mainly watch, and the ones that I would prefer to see if we are going to see sell signals here. Right, let's have a look at GC. Now, GC, we had a buy signal, and that made target. Gotta say, this has not been strongly correlated with what's been happening with the Iran war. Bigger picture, I'm thinking we may be still owed a retest of this low here, but I'm liking the upside. And the patterns I was looking at on the bigger picture yesterday was suggesting that the upside is looking pretty nice here. We've already retested the low on SI, and we've got a nice looking potential level bottom, which hasn't broken up yet. Palladium may need a retest of the low. Platinum may need a retest of the low. HG, this may or may not still be a bear flag. So keeping an open mind on that, we may just see a retest of this high. So we shall see. All right, looking at the other commodities, KC, this still looks like a bullish consolidation. SB broke down from this double top, but it's actually looking more like a bull flag forming at the moment. On CC, we've got a head and shoulders, which is broken down here with a target in the 4,400 area, but we've also got a decent looking bull flag, which is starting potentially to break up, which could take us back up into a retest of this high here in about the 6,500 area. We shall see. On lumber, we've got a 60-minute sell signal, which hasn't made target yet, pulling back a bit. CT, keeping an open mind on this one, but we have got an IHS which broke up here and failed, so that does technically leave us with a target at a retest of this low. ZW is seeing a bit of a pullback here, sell signal made target. Corn seeing a bit of a pullback, sell signal made target. Soy didn't have a sell signal, has been seeing a bit of a pullback already. Thinking that these are likely to be overall, I'm leaning bullish, but we could see more of a retracement. ZL, I'm still looking for a retest of this high here in about the 74.7 area. Live cattle, weak 6-minute buy signal, which hasn't really delivered much so far. And HE, we've got a 6-minute sell signal, which hasn't really delivered much so far. Both of those are counter trend, with IHS having broken up on HE with a target in the 92.5 area and broken down on the LE with a target in the 204.45 area. Right, great. Let's have a quick look at questions. But a moment, of which we have none. I think that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. All right, cheers.